Once you know which type of student you are, everything gets easier. You will stop wasting time on the wrong kinds of drills. You'll stop second guessing yourself, and you'll start getting traction. So the four kinds of avatars are the T14 gunner, the retaker, the scholarship hunter, and the smart starter. One of these types will describe you perfectly, even if you don't know it yet. And so I want to share with you what to do and how to approach this if you are one of these given types. And so the T14 gunner is the competitive type. You've already put in serious work. You're sitting somewhere in the mid to high 160s, maybe the low 170s, and you want to go to the top law schools and ideally get top scholarships to match. But the thing is, you hit this weird wall where you're doing everything right, but your score just won't move. You'll say things like, I know the material, but I keep dropping points late in this section. Now, here's what usually goes wrong. The problem could be that you are grinding through too many full practice tests, or you're trying to go faster instead of going more accurate, and you're treating reading comp like a memory test instead of a structured test. So this is your 1 week plan if you are a gunner. For logical reasoning, you spend 15 minutes per day on the last 5 questions of each section. You label the question stem in just 5 seconds, and if you don't immediately recognize the pattern, you flag it, you skip it, and you come back to it later. And your goal here is to train for pattern recognition rather than endurance. For reading comp, you're doing 1 passage a day, a 10-word headline for each paragraph, and then you answer only the main point and author attitude questions first. For endurance, you do 1 2-section lab this week, a logical reasoning and a reading comp section back to back, and your metrics you track. Your accuracy in the last 5 in logical reasoning, those are the hardest questions. For your reading comp headlines, they should be under 10 words. And your cushion after question 10, you want to be at least a couple minutes ahead of schedule because remember, you're doing those first 10 questions in only 10 to 12 minutes. If you are a retaker, especially if you got your score back today, it wasn't what you wanted, but you're not quitting, you're looking ahead to November, January, February, and beyond, and you know exactly where things went wrong, you can name the section that fell apart, and your PT scores were higher than your official score. So here's how we fix the gap. Retakers usually want to jump right back into full exams, and they keep replaying the bad test day in their heads. But instead, we start with an error autopsy. You pull out your last 2 practice tests. For each one, you write down what belief was wrong, what signal did I miss, and what rule will I use next time around. Then you do 10-minute target drills. You focus on your worst 2 logical reasoning question types. Could be flaw, could be necessary assumption, could be inference. If you're not sure, I would start with the most common types because those are going to be higher leverage. They'll give you more bang for your buck than focusing on the rare ones like evaluate the argument that hardly ever come up. Then we look at your 2-section labs again. 1 logical reasoning, 1 reading comp, and we apply the 1 reason rule. You can only switch your answer if you have 1 clear written reason. You're not switching just based on your gut check. And you want to track your right to wrong switches versus your wrong to right switches. And your accuracy on those 10-minute drills should be at least 80 to 90%. Now, if you are hunting for scholarships, if you want merit aid, you want leverage, you want to score above the medians of the schools to which you're applying. And most people looking for scholarships spread themselves too thin, and they wait till after they get their scores back before they write their application essays. And to make it even worse, they don't negotiate. So for your LSAT score plan, I want you to pick 2 weak areas that have high ROI, like necessary assumption, inference, and flaw. You drill those specifically. Then for your application essays, you write 1 paragraph of your personal statement's core story and 1 paragraph of your YX essay. You're not overthinking here, you're just getting words on the page. Then we have your ROI plan. You make a simple table listing 3 target schools. You look at your current LSAT score relative to your target score, and you look at that school's LSAT median. That should be your fuel, your motivation to increase your score, because if you can get above the median, then you put yourself in the running for that scholarship money. Now, you want to track your accuracy in your 2 focus areas in logical reasoning. You want to look at how quickly you can create that RC headline and your scholarship delta. You want to look at how much money you will unlock by hitting your target score. Now, let's talk about the smart starters, people who are starting off early, looking for the highest possible score, and they're not in a rush. If you're new to the process or you're rebuilding your score starting off below 160, this is you. You might feel like you're behind. You might even feel like you're intimidated, but don't, because you actually have the biggest advantage. You have not yet built any wrong habits. So here's what not to do. You're not going to do full length practice tests. You're not going to study 5 hours a day. You need structure. You need calm. You need consistency. Your 1 week plan starts with building a foundation, 20 minutes a day on your structure in logical reasoning. You look at 3 old questions, ignoring the answer choices. You just label the premise, the gap, and the conclusion. You stop there. For reading comp, you do 1 passage a day. You write down a 10-word headline per paragraph. Then you write down 1 sentence describing each paragraph's role. That's it. For timing, you do 1 light ladder of just the first 10 questions in logical reasoning with plenty of time. You focus on accuracy and decision making calmly. You track your accuracy in your drills, the length of your RC headlines, shorter is better, and your confidence level after question 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. If you stick to that, your score will skyrocket over time. And when we work with new students, this is always the most fun phase because everything improves quickly. And you start to think to yourself, yeah, I can actually do this. Now let's talk about how to get you scholarship money, how to increase your score, and how to build a plan of attack. Because I know that you're not here for more random LSAT tips. You're here for a system, something that actually works from start to finish. And that's what this roadmap today is going to give you. There are 4 phases in this roadmap, and each one builds on the last. Each one has a clear goal. The first is diagnosis and accuracy. This is where we start by stopping the bleeding. Every day, you spend about 45 to 60 minutes max. You drill 1 weak area, you time 1 mini set, and you do a short Socratic review to write 1 line per miss. What belief was wrong? What signal did I miss? And what rule will I use next time? That is it. It's short, it's sharp, and it's simple. By the end of week 2, you know exactly what you're getting wrong and why. Then we move into phase 2, pacing and rhythm. We start layering in timing once your accuracy is solid. You do single RC passages with light time pressure, roughly 9-10 minutes. You do short drill ladders of 10 questions in 10 minutes for the first 10 in logical reasoning. And by the end of week 4, the goal is that your pacing feels steady. You don't feel like you're racing the clock anymore, and you actually have a cushion. Then phase 3, endurance and the last 5 in logical reasoning, because that's where fatigue tends to set in and where your points disappear. So now you're running those 2-section labs, 1 logical reasoning, 1 reading comp back to back. You drill your last 5 protocol, and you do resets between sections. Then finally, phase 4 is test week and game day. This is when you taper down. You're not cramming, you're just reinforcing. No new methods, no big changes. This is not the time to experiment. You're just repeating the system on rinse and repeat. Now, once your scores come back, there are only 3 possibilities. First, you hit or you beat your target. That's awesome. Congrats. We shift gears to your applications and negotiating scholarships, where you're using your LSAT score as leverage. Or maybe you're close to your goal, but not quite there. Maybe 1 section cost you a couple points, and that's where we build you a retake plan and tighten things up. Or you fell far short of your goal, which happens. And so we regroup, we readjust, and we go at it again with better data. Now, let's talk about how to structure your studying going forward and what to do with regard to your beliefs around all of this, because we've got to clean out all the mental junk before we stack in more tactics. Because if your beliefs are off, if you don't think you can do this, your plan doesn't matter. You will sabotage yourself and you'll forget to study. You'll take random practice tests because you're anxious, and then you'll say, see, it doesn't work. The first belief is I'm not a test person. I want you to reframe this as you are a skills person. You can train and build skills. So for the next 7 days, if this is you, you do a 5-minute structure drill before anything else. You take 3 logical reasoning stimuli and you label the premise, the gap, and the conclusion, and then you stop. That 5 minutes proves you can build a skill daily without motivation. In other words, you build the habit regardless of whether you feel like doing it or not. You do it anyway because this is who you are. Just like you don't feel like brushing your teeth, so you do it. You do it because it's a habit. You don't shower because you feel like showering. You do it because it's just what you do. Same thing with the LSAT. There might be a belief that you need to have 3 to 4 hours free to study with no interruptions. I want you to reframe with the idea that short sessions win, long sessions are a bonus. You put 3 20-minute blocks on your calendar this week. That becomes 1 hour in total. It's not a lot, but it's enough. The third belief, I have to learn everything before timing. I want you to reframe this as accuracy first, timing second, in small ladders. On your next logical reasoning section, you give yourself a first 10 cushion. You move calmly, you skip unclear items in 15 seconds, and you buy another 30 to 60 seconds for each of the last 5 questions. The fourth belief, if I read more explanations, I'll improve. But the thing is, reading is not reviewing. Writing is reviewing. So after each miss, write down 2 short lines. First, the rule that you will use next time, and the signal that will tip you off earlier. If you can't write both, you didn't learn it. Sorry, the camera went back out. Looks like I'm back now. Sorry about that. If it happens again, please let me know. Thank you for that. Now let's talk about why most study plans fail. The first reason is that you have randomness masquerading as work. You open up Law Hub, you pick random questions, and you grind until your eyes blur and you call it studying. The fix here is that every session needs both a theme and a target. The theme could be logical reasoning structure on conditional logic. If that's the case for you, you do 10 questions, you label premise, gap, and conclusion with 1 written rule. If you can't say it, you're not yet ready to start. The second reason is timing too early. People jump into full practice tests with shaky accuracy. They practice being fast, but they're also wrong. The fix here is accuracy before speed. I want you to hit 85 to 90% on drills first, then add timing, and finally build up that time bank for the tougher questions later that truly need it. The third big reason study plans fail is that reading explanations is not review. It feels productive, but it's not. The fix is to write 2 lines per miss. First, the rule that you will use next time, and the signal that would have warned you. Because if it's not written, it's not real. The fourth one is that people are treating reading comp passages like novels. They highlight everything, but they remember nothing. The fix here is headlines and roles. After each paragraph, you write a short headline and 1-word role like background, claim, counter, example, or conclusion, and you answer the main point and author's attitude questions first. Looks like the camera is still good again. If it goes out, please let me know. Now, I want to give you a micro win right now. This whole thing is pretty fast. You set a timer on your phone, takes only 20 minutes. You do a 10-minute logical reasoning structure drill, a 7-minute reading comp mapping drill, and a 3-minute review that makes you better today. That's it. 10 minutes for logical reasoning, 7 minutes for reading comp, and a 3-minute review after the fact. Your goal here is simple. You want to train your brain to see the skeleton of arguments fast. You pick 3 old logical reasoning questions you've already done. You label premise, gap, and conclusion. Then you name the pattern you see: causation, comparison, conditional, scope shift, percentage versus number, representativeness, or part to whole. You label it, you name it, and you stop. You don't look at the choices. Then for reading comp mapping, you pick one passage you've already done. After each one, you write the 10-word headline and a 1-word role. The roles are simple: background, claim, counter, example, or conclusion. That is your whole vocabulary here. Then you answer only main point and author's attitude. That's it, because they force you to understand the entire passage, not to get lost in random facts. Then finally, 3-minute review. You pick 2 moments from what you just did, one from logical reasoning and one from reading comp, and you write down only the rule that you will use next time and the signal that would tip you off earlier. That is it. 2 short lines. Now, you've heard me say this a few times. Scores move when you have a simple plan and you actually follow it. Some of you will take what I've taught and you'll run with it, and that's great. And some of you want help building that plan, which is also great. And so, if you would like my help, you can book a free LSAT tutoring lesson with me personally. In that session, we do 3 things: clean, fast, and practical. First, we audit. We look at where your points are leaking, not vague, but specific. Then, we build out a plan for you around your goals and your schedule. And finally, we give you a couple of quick rules for your review so it actually sticks going forward. It's not a lecture, it's not a bunch of resources, and it's not a 4-hour marathon. It's one focused, free tutoring lesson to fix your next steps. This is for you if you want a 170 or above, or you want real scholarship money. If you can commit 5-10 hours a week consistently. If you are willing to write down rules after you study. If that sounds like you, you're going to get a lot out of the session, and you can book it with me for free at unpluggedprep.com/start. I'll be happy to help you out. And what happens next after that? If you would like, you can take the plan and do it yourself. That's totally fine. And if you want my help implementing it on a consistent daily and weekly basis, I'll show you how we do that as well. Either way, the session itself is designed to be valuable on its own. And so if you're on the fence, ask yourself 3 questions. Do I know my top 2 error patterns? Do I have a plan I can follow on a bad week? Do I know what changes if I plateau next week? If you can't answer all 3 of those, the free session is going to help you. Now, some common questions. Do I need a certain score first? No, you don't. We've helped people starting off in the 120s, the 130s, and the 140s, all the way to those starting off in the 170s looking to score even higher. The plan obviously looks different depending on where you're at. If your schedule is chaotic, what happens then? Totally fine. We'll then design for the smallest time you can allot per week to begin with. What if I'm a retaker and I'm embarrassed? It's okay, because you already know what test day feels like, and so we'll work with that. Now, before your session, I want you to come in ideally knowing 2 of your weakest logical reasoning question types or reading comp type that you struggle with. Write down when you can study this week and be honest about it. That's it. Just 5 minutes of prep will make the session 10 times better. Now, here's what I'm probably going to tell you during the session, so there are no surprises. Short sessions win, accuracy before speed, and rule and signal per miss or it didn't count. In other words, you want to get key takeaways from your review process. Now, if you're not ready to book that session, totally fine. Instead, I want you to run that 20-minute block I mentioned earlier, where we do 10 minutes for logical reasoning, 7 for reading comp, and 3 for review. Now, if you do book that session, come ready. I'll respect your time, and I'll give you a plan. Your only job afterwards is to execute the boring parts, the parts that actually move your score. Now, if you're taking the January or February LSAT, this is when things get real. You've been studying for weeks, maybe months, but your score just won't move. You keep hitting that same number and you start to wonder, am I doing something wrong? Is it even possible to jump this late in the game? Maybe you're stuck on a plateau, the same one that thousands of students hit every year. That's why I created the LSAT Bootcamp. It is an intensive, one-on-one LSAT coaching experience designed to raise your score by 10 to 25 points or more in just a few months. The LSAT Bootcamp is not a course with a bunch of videos you'll never finish. It's not a bunch of practice tests and wishful thinking. It's live, personalized training the fastest path from frustration to results. And here's the way the bootcamp works. You meet with your coach 3 times a week, one-on-one, scheduled around your life. Then you have 4 live semi-private sessions per week where you can drill, you can review, and you can ask questions in real time. Real questions that you're facing. Every single day, you've got a custom study plan built from your data, not a template. You're going to know exactly what to study, what to review, and how to fix your next weak spot with as little as 45 to 60 minutes a day, but every minute still counts. This bootcamp is engineered for speed and precision. You see measurable score movement fast, sometimes in as little as 2 weeks. For example, we had Zach go from 151 to 176 in just 1 month. We had Judy improve 10 points while working full time. Now, of course, not a promise or a guarantee. Your results may vary, but I share those stories to show you what is possible when you put in the work, you stop guessing, and you start executing. Because these students followed a system that actually adapts to them instead of leaving them to figure it out alone. Now, most LSAT programs fail because they're passive. You buy the login, you watch a few videos, and you're on your own with no accountability, no personalized feedback, and no plan that adjusts when you hit a wall. But the LSAT Bootcamp flips that completely. You get real coaches watching your data in real time. You get custom drills tailored to your exact weaknesses, and you get instant feedback after every session. Constant iteration until your results are predictable. We use the Socratic review method to help you understand every mistake, not just memorize the right answer. And by week 2, you're going to start to feel it. That shift from panic to control. Now, right now, your prep might feel like a treadmill, moving fast but going nowhere. You're burning energy without seeing results. And the bootcamp changes that. It gives you direction, accountability, and real wins you can feel in your score. By week 3, you're going to know, I'm not hoping anymore, I'm improving. That's what this program is built for. Momentum, not confusion. And if you commit to the plan, if you attend your sessions, follow the schedule, and do the work, you're going to raise your score by at least 10 points. And if not, we work with you for free until you do. That is our score improvement guarantee. If you show up and you put in the work, you win, period. It's that simple. And this is for you if you're taking the LSAT in January or February specifically. If you want to start with the bootcamp and go for April instead, we can support you with a customized extension. It's for you if you studied, but your score is not moving. If you're aiming for 170 or above, or you want serious scholarship leverage. And if you want personal guidance, not another self-paced course. By the end of the bootcamp, you will know how to handle logical reasoning and reading comp with total structure. You will know how to pace every section with confidence and control. And you will know how to review like a pro using the Socratic review method. And you will walk into test day feeling calm, focused, and ready. You will go from guessing your score to predicting it, from hoping you improve to knowing that you will. That's what the bootcamp delivers. It is certainty. Now, if you are serious about law school, if you want scholarships, top-tier admissions, if you want to change the trajectory of your career, then you cannot afford to waste another week plateauing. The bootcamp gives you the structure, the accountability, and the coaching to make your jump before the January or February LSATs. 3 private coaching sessions every single week. 4 semi-private coaching sessions every single week. A custom daily study plan, Socratic review, and our higher score guarantee. That is how you win the LSAT when time is running out. So if you're interested, you can go to lsatunplugged.com/bootcamp right now, claim your spot, and we will build your breakthrough together. Now, no matter how many videos you've watched or practice tests you've done, you will never outstudy confusion. You can only outcoach it. And that's why the bootcamp is built around personal, private, one-on-one coaching, the most powerful part of the entire system. It's not some once a month check-in or group Q&A. You meet 3 times every single week, private one-on-one with a top scoring LSAT coach who knows how to get you unstuck fast. We call it your personal LSAT accelerator because every session pushes you forward. Every session is short, focused, and surgical. The first session is your diagnosis and your fix. We start with your real data, your last section, your timestamps, your error patterns, and your coach spots the leaks immediately. Then together, we rebuild your process for the next round. In the second session, it's execution and feedback, where you test the fix. Your coach watches for timing, any hesitations, or sloppy gaps in your logic. You get live correction, not after you miss 5 more questions, but in the moment. Then the third session is simulation and confidence, where we put it under pressure. Timed sections, live analysis, and a mindset check. You leave knowing your next step and exactly what to practice tomorrow. And the reason this works is that most LSAT prep is static. You study alone, you guess what went wrong, and you hope your next LSAT is better. But that wastes weeks. And the one-on-one coaching replaces guesswork with real feedback loops. Every week, you get a private LSAT coach professional reviewing your results line by line. You get real-time corrections before bad habits harden, and you get constant micro adjustments based on your timing and your accuracy data, and a living study plan that evolves with you. That's why the bootcamp students progress in weeks, not months. You'll know exactly why you missed that strengthening question. You'll know why your RC accuracy dropped after passage 3, and you'll know how to fix all of it. Now, this is intensive, but it's supportive. You show up with your work that you've done since your last meeting, and your coach comes with the map. No judgment, no saying, you should already know this by now, but just precision. So a session might sound like this. For example, okay, so you see this necessary assumption question. You're predicting the right idea, but you're missing the conditional shift. Let's rebuild it in 90 seconds. Or you are rereading paragraph 2 because you never labeled the author's role. Let's write the headline right now. Boom, clarity. You leave each session feeling lighter because confusion turns into actionable steps. Now, every coach in the bootcamp scored 170 or above, and they've been through the trenches themselves. They've seen every plateau, every timing collapse, every person who was stuck at 162 and losing hope, and they know exactly how to reverse it. And they take your progress personally. And it's going to be one-on-one. So you're not one of 100 faces in a classroom. You are their project. And there's something powerful about not being alone in this anymore. You've got someone by your side tracking your metrics, spotting patterns, making sure you never waste a week. So you stop feeling like you're wandering around in the dark and you start feeling guided, and the anxiety melts away. By week 2, you're going to feel like you're not just studying, but you're training with a coach. And the reason we do it this way is because feedback delays kill progress. If you spend 3 days wondering why you missed something, you've already built a bad habit. Our goal is 0 lag time between mistakes and mastery. That's why you meet with a coach 3 times a week, tightening your process while it's still fresh. And remember, we've got our higher score guarantee. If you show up, follow the plan, and implement the feedback, you will raise your score by at least 10 points. If not, you get a full refund, or we keep working with you until you do. And it's not passive. It's not where we just do it all of the work for you. We can't take the LSAT for you, of course. So we've got to give you the confidence, the clarity, and the skill to perform when it truly matters. And so we meet with you 3 times a week, private one-on-one, personal attention, real accountability, and measured growth. This is where everything changes. And it's why we built for you a personal daily study plan, because you don't have time for random studying when you're taking the LSAT in January or February, less than 4 months away, or even less than 3 months away. You've got to have a daily plan that tells you exactly what to do every single day, and it adjusts when your results change. That's why inside the bootcamp, we give you a living day-by-day plan. It's not a PDF schedule that goes stale after a week. It's a living, breathing roadmap that updates based on your performance. We built it this way because most students try to follow a schedule. They print out something from Reddit, they miss a day, and suddenly the whole thing falls apart. But our plan is different. It updates every single week after your one-on-ones. It uses your timing data, your accuracy, and your fatigue patterns, and it literally evolves with you. And every day is short, focused, and specific, usually about 45 to 60 minutes in total. The first step is a targeted drill, 15-20 minutes on one weak spot, maybe flaws in logical reasoning, or mapping one reading count passage. Then we have timed application, applying it under pressure. Third, Socratic review, 15-20 minutes, reviewing mistakes using our one reason rule. You write 1 line per miss. What signal did I ignore, and how will I fix it next time? That's it. 3 clear blocks, 1 powerful hour. And you get more done in that hour than most students get done in 3. And after each week, your coach looks at your data, your accuracy, your pacing, and your stress levels. And then the plan shifts. More flaws, or fewer RC passages, or extra drills. It's responsive to how you progress. So think of it like training cycles. First few weeks, you have accuracy. Second few weeks, you have pacing. Then you have endurance. Everything adjusts to hit your test day peak by test day. So for example, Monday might involve 5 flaw questions at an easy pace, 1 mini ladder timed, and quick review. Tuesday, you might do 1 reading count passage timed, where you label the author's role for each paragraph and you review each answer. Wednesday, you have an optional 2-section lab in logical reasoning or reading comp, then 2 lines in your mistake journal. Thursday, you have light precision work, 10 mixed questions, slowly and carefully. And finally, you take a break and take a day off, or you do a short 3-section block. Now, there are 3 golden rules I want to share with you. First, you label before you answer. You always mark the structure first, the conclusion, the support, or the author's role. Second, the 1 reason rule. You can only choose or eliminate an answer for 1 clear reason. If you can't explain it in a second sentence, you haven't earned the right to choose that. And third, if you don't Socratic review, it didn't happen. Every miss needs 1 written fix. That is how learning sticks. Also, rest is important. We build days off into our plan for a reason. Write into your calendar. Some days are 10-minute drills, but the final week, we taper down so you hit test day fresh, calm, and confident. And if you plateau, if your score stalls, we don't panic, we pivot. We cut volume by 30 to 40%, and we refocus on accuracy and clarity. We fix the exact pattern holding you back so that you can feel the momentum again. Now, question here, how it syncs with coaching. Your coach is not guessing. They are reading your plan data, what you finished, how your times moved, which errors repeated. Then they tune the next week's plan so it fits you perfectly. You do, you measure, you adjust, and you improve. That is the loop. Now, how does this impact how you feel as a result of joining the bootcamp? The first week, you got relief because you stopped guessing. In the second week, you start feeling momentum because you win questions you used to miss. Then you feel predictability where you can literally feel yourself improving. And finally, by week 5, you're feeling control because you know exactly what score you're going to get before you take the test. And this whole thing is measurable. There's no guesswork because we can see how you're performing based on your practice tests. We can see what you did, how you improved, and what changed. If you follow the plan and your score doesn't jump at least 10 points, either you get a full refund or we keep working with you for free until it does. There's no risk, so there's no excuses. Now let's talk about one of the most underrated parts of the bootcamp, the semi-private coaching sessions. Every Monday through Thursday night, we host live small group coaching sessions on Zoom. They're totally optional, totally interactive, and every single one is recorded so that you can rewatch it later or catch up as you miss it. So I want you to think of these as your nightly LSAT power hours. They're a space to reinforce what you're learning in your one-on-ones, apply it under pressure, and get live feedback in real time. Each session's about 1 hour, because we know you're tired after work or school or family, and you're learning alongside other serious students chasing for a 170 plus or higher. These are not big anonymous webinars where you're typing in a chat box. They're small, focused, interactive workshops led by our 170 plus scoring coaches, the same people running your private one-on-one sessions. Each one has a theme of either logical reasoning or reading comp, and we focus on clarity, repetition, and pressure testing. You see how other students think, where they stumble, and how they recover. That's how you pick up insights you would never get studying alone. And the reason it works is that there's something powerful about watching other high-achieving students get coached live, because you realize, oh, I'm not the only one who misses those inference questions, or I make that exact pacing mistake too. The semi-private coaching sessions create momentum. They turn the bootcamp into a rhythm. Private coaching by day, community reinforcement by night. And because they're optional, there is zero pressure. Some students are gunners, they attend all four each week, and I love them. Others are busy and they just drop in when they need extra reps or motivation, and that's okay too. And every single one is recorded and uploaded to your portal. So if you can't attend live, you still get all the insights and the takeaways. And students love this because it lets them rewatch tough question explanations later. You can pause and apply the same drills to your own material, and you can catch up without falling behind. And it's not a lecture, it's a conversation. You'll hear your coach say things like, okay, stop. Who can tell me the author's main point here? Or let's slow down and walk through why that strengthened answer actually weakens the argument. And students can jump in on the mic or type in the chat, whatever you prefer. Cameras on, cameras off, it's okay. Everybody is engaged. It's fast paced, but it's supportive. So you leave energized, sharper, motivated, and confident, and you end the night thinking, I actually get it now. And I know that LSAT prep can feel isolating. You're studying alone, you're doubting yourself, second guessing every section. And these nightly sessions, 4 nights a week, they break through that isolation because you have a community of others all chasing the same goal, all highly driven. You might have different backgrounds, but you have the same mission. You want 170 plus and scholarship leverage. And that community energy matters. When someone else finally breaks through a question type that used to stump them, you feel that same win. And here's how it all connects. Your one-on-ones, you pinpoint your weaknesses and you fix them. Your day-by-day plan is where you apply the fixes solo. In your semi-private sessions, you reinforce things under live conditions. And your Socratic review, you lock it all in. And that loop repeats every single week until your score becomes predictable. We've had students tell us, those night sessions were my game changer. I couldn't believe how fast I started thinking once I practiced under live pressure. Another student said, I would miss a night, then rewatch the recording at lunch the next day, and it still felt live. The breakdowns were that clear. That's what these sessions do. They multiply your progress and compress your timeline. It's 4 nights a week, all optional, all recorded, all designed to help you walk into test day feeling ready, not rattled. So by the time you've done a few weeks of these, the LSAT doesn't feel unpredictable anymore. You see the patterns, you think clearer, and you stay calm under pressure. They give you confidence through consistency. And so if you ever feel stuck, tired, unsure what to do next, you can jump into a session. And that's what makes the bootcamp different. It's not just private coaching. It's a full ecosystem of live support. Now let's talk about Socratic review. Most people review the LSAT by checking the answer key and moving on, but in the bootcamp, we use Socratic review. It's a simple, disciplined way to turn every mistake into a permanent upgrade. It's how you stop repeating errors and start compounding points. It's about interrogating your process until it's airtight. You ask questions, you force a clear one-sentence reason, and you record the fix and apply it tomorrow. That is the loop. So for every question that you get wrong or have difficulty with, you ask these questions. For example, what did the argument or passage actually say? What did I think it said? What was my prediction, if any? Why is the right answer right in one sentence? And why is my answer wrong in one sentence? And if you cannot answer in one sentence, you don't truly own it yet. Now let's talk about the one reason rule applied to review. For every single choice, I want you to force a single clear reason. For example, choice B introduces a new claim not supported in the conclusion. D requires a stronger assumption than the author makes. And E restates evidence, so it's not the main point. It should be short, it should be sharp, and obvious to future you. Now, for logical reasoning, we start off by naming the skeleton. What's the conclusion? What's the support? What's the gap? Then we name the question type. Is it inference, flaw, or necessary assumption? Then step 3, we re-answer with rules. If it's necessary assumption, we test with negation. If it's strengthened, we connect cause to effect or we bridge the gap. If it's weakened, we attack the link, not the premise. Then step 4, we give a one-sentence verdict on each answer. Why it's right, why it's wrong, one sentence each, that's it. And step 5, we log the fix. For example, I skipped the conclusion, reading felt aimless. Going forward, I'm going to say the conclusion first before I read the choices. And that last line goes live to your decision log. Tomorrow's plan will use it. Now, for reading comp, it's the same underlying logic. Step one, we rebuild your map. We give a headline for the whole passage. Then we have a role for each paragraph: background, problem, new approach, evidence, or the author's opinion. Step two, we re-answer with structure rather than memory. In other words, we're tying each question to a specific line, the role of the paragraph, or the author's opinion. If you can't do that, you're just guessing. Then step three, we give a one-sentence verdict on the answers. For example, B misreads the author's opinion. The tone was too strong. Or C captures paragraph two's function, and it introduces the competing theory. Or E is a detail swap from paragraph 3. Then step 4, we log the fix. For example, there was no headline after paragraph 2, so we stop and label roles before answering. And if you have timing problems, Socratic review fixes those also, because timing issues are rarely about speed. They are about decisions. In review, you note when you slow down and why. For example, I paused because I didn't lock the conclusion, or I reread because I never labeled the author's role, or I spiraled on the choices because I had no prediction. Then you write down the counter cue you will use next time. For example, I will find the conclusion first, or I will predict before I go to the choices. Then you execute the cue before you start reading. Now, question, how long should this take? It takes less time than you would think. Maybe 15, 20 minutes after a short set, or 30 to 40 minutes after a longer section. Depth is greater than breadth. And so if you're writing a novel, you're kind of missing the main point here. Keep it concise, keep it actionable. And this will feel slow at first, and you'll want to skip steps. I encourage you not to, because it will build and compound over time. By week 2, you will start predicting the answers. By week 3, you will feel calmer midway through the section, and you'll catch yourself saying, wait, one reason only, I've got to label it first. And that is the voice of a high scorer. And by the way, don't just review wrong answers, review the right ones where you got lucky, but it could have gone the other way. Even for those, ask the 5 review questions anyway and make it repeatable.